Good morning, everybody. How is everyone doing today? So for those of you that are joining today, let me know where you are from. I would love to hear where you live. And I also would love to know, are you a professional beauty cosmetologist? Are you an esthetician? Are you a massage therapist? Are you a salon owner? I would love to hear if there's any professionals that are watching today, and also if there's any clients that are watching, just so I kind of know who my audience is. That would be amazing. So how's everyone doing? Where are you from? And what is your profession? Are you a professional cosmetologist, makeup artist, salon professional? Just let me know so I know my audience. Good morning, Martha. Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Stormy. You guys are following me every Monday, so that is awesome. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Lee Rader, and I've actually been in the beauty industry for going on, let's see, what year is it? 24 years, I believe it is. And I'm a former salon owner. I am, educated in a lot of different things. I'm certified in a lot of different things. And I'm also a national educator as well. So now I really pride myself in helping other professionals as much as I can because I've been there. I've been around long enough to know what has happened with the beauty industry. So I've been doing this series of videos, and I believe this is the third one. So in the first one, I kind of went over, the evolution over the years of, the industry, if you think back to the 50s. So if you missed that, make sure you do. And I also covered diversion in that one, product diversion, which is a huge issue in our profession. So, and then last week I went over the changes in distribution, which actually ties into diversion, and those are subjects that I could probably do more videos about, and I may. We'll just see how it goes. But today what I really wanted to talk about is independent or chair rental beauty professionals versus employees. Okay, so what I want you guys to think back to is, years ago, there was absolutely no booth rental or chair rental. I'm going to go over, because I know there's a lot of professionals on here too, so I'm going to go over like the pros and cons of each. Also the pros and cons as far as being a salon or spa owner. And I'm going to talk about all of that because I think it's really important to really understand. And for those of you that aren't professionals, that are maybe clients, it's really important for you to understand that as well. Okay, so as a stylist, from a stylist point of view, they're often faced with like two options when they start their career. So renting a booth or chair from a salon owner, or working as an employer or working as an employee on a salary or commission-based structure. So both options can be good career paths, okay, for seasoned pros or even those just starting out, but I'll tell you my opinion on that. So you want to make that choice is really actually pretty important. So what is a commission-based stylist job? So the definition of that is under this structure, you will work for someone. So you will be an employee for a salon. So you'll be scheduled to work the way you would in any career on certain days and certain times. You'll be paid a set rate along with commission in this setting. So the pros of this setup are pretty simple. You will not only will you avoid dealing with marketing, product purchasing, and retail sales, growing a clientele by yourself, or all the other pitfalls of owning your business, and you'll also have the help and knowledge of the entire salon behind you. So they really do pride themselves in educating you because coming out of school especially, you don't really, I hate to say this to the clients, but there's a lot that you don't know when you get out of school. And so having someone hire you as an employee and giving you that education and knowledge while you're building your clientele is really, really ideal. Okay, so you're usually going to get the walk-ins because, you know, you're an employee, so they want to give you those to make you busy. You're most likely going to work almost every weekend, I should say every Saturday, along with mostly evenings, because if you think about it, that's when most of the people come into the salon. So in order to build your clientele, you really have to be willing to work those hours and kind of pay your dues. So the cons of this model are few and far between, but they do exist. So if you're looking to be your own boss, make your own hours, and change or charge the prices that you want to charge, a commission-based salon may not be good for you. You know, if you're a seasoned stylist and you're like, well, you know, I don't want to work for anyone, I want to make my own hours, you know, then that wouldn't be the type of situation for you. Okay, so figuring out which one is, you know, good for you or not is really going to depend on your circumstances. So many find that the benefits of a commission-based salon will be the best fit to build their career, but, you know, everyone's different. Some of them, I shouldn't even say that, most of them cannot afford to pay you benefits really anyway. So unless it's a very large salon, maybe, but they usually can't afford to pay for any of your benefits. So for salon owners now, I'm going to go over to the salon owner standpoint, is probably the best scenario as far as trying to make an income, okay? But most of the salons that I know of are really just breaking even in a commissioned type situation. A lot of times they pay their employees about 50% commission, and from an employee standpoint, you're like, oh, well, they're making 50% of my services, so they have all this money coming in. But in reality, from that, they actually have to pay the employee portion of taxes, unemployment, workers' comp, their lease, the electric, water, phone, advertising, education. I could go on and on and on. The bills do usually pile up. Most salon owners that I know are still working behind the chair because the salon is usually breaking even, and so any of their income that they want has to be from them being behind the chair. And that's the reality. It's really sad, especially because, you know, if you think about it, it's hard for them to keep their employees because once they train them and once those employees build a really good clientele, what do you think happens to the employees? They actually usually leave to go, you know, rent a station or rent a booth somewhere else, or they go down the road, you know, where they maybe offer them like, you know, 60% commission, which most salons can't afford to do. But there's all these different circumstances that we're just used to training our competition, which is really, really sad in our industry because, I mean, I know just from my like experience, I would have apprentices, and I mean, I would train them exactly how I did everything. And, you know, you spend a few years with them, and you spend all the advertising to get them clients so that they're busy, so that you can pay them. And rule of thumb, I believe, is once someone leaves, they take about half of their clients with them. And with the competitive industry now, there's so many salons everywhere too, and so many booth rentals and so many chair rentals that it's really hard to find new employees. So you invest all this time into them, and you know what? Can you blame them? Not really. I mean, you know, in all reality, everybody's kind of got to take care of themselves, and they're out for themselves. So there's not a lot of loyalty anymore within the industry because there's a lot more options for the stylist. So good for the stylist, maybe not so good for the salon owner. So now let's go over a booth rental or independent or chair rental situation. Okay, so a salon that offers this is similar in nature to like an office building where you're renting your space or you're renting out your like individual booth and from an existing salon or even just a landlord that has that kind of situation, and you pay rent for that space. Okay, so there's a lot of pros to this as far as you can set your own hours and rates, whatever you're charging your clients, and you can be your own boss. So you can do whatever you want. You can, if you don't want to work any nights or weekends, you know what, you can do that. You know, but there's some drawbacks to that too. So you are responsible for the upkeep of your own business. So you have to do your own training, do your own marketing. You know, you don't get that support. You usually have to build your own clientele. That's why coming right out of school, it's probably not always a good option. I'm surprised at how many people actually try to just rent their chair right out of school, because usually they're coming in with absolutely no clientele whatsoever. So, you know, the rate, sometimes they pay weekly, sometimes you pay monthly. You know, it really depends, but you have to buy all your own supplies, all your own retail, anything that you use, and then you also have to keep track of everything. You have to keep track of your retail sales, your service sales. You have to pay your own taxes. You have to be really good at keeping track of all that. You're responsible for all that as well. And, you know, if you decide to take a few weeks off, you're still responsible to pay your rent, regardless if you're there or not. So, you know, it can be difficult, but if you're a seasoned professional, obviously you're probably going to make a little bit more money that way, which is why a lot of stylists they decide to do that. So the bad thing about the independence is, you know, this is really taking away leadership at a salon level and creating a nightmare for manufacturers. So like I said, I talked about the way that distribution has changed as far as manufacturers go getting their products out to the consumer. Okay, so years ago they would just go into the actual salon and, you know, talk to the owner and market their products, and, you know, all the employees would sell them. But now they have to try to go to each stylist separate, and then a lot of times, hi Nina, a lot of times they are all carrying different products, and there's really no synergy. And, you know, it's really hard to keep that like team atmosphere, because everyone's kind of like in on their own thing, and there's just it's really hard to keep that synergy. You know, the salon industry is really competitive, so if you're all independent, of course you're all sort of fighting for that client, especially if you're not busy yet, if you're not don't have a full clientele. That's kind of how you do that. Okay, so the majority of the salons, like in my area, a lot of them are booth rental at this point. Now, in some states, it's not legal. Every state is really different, you guys, as far as when it comes to regulating professionals. And I'm going to actually talk next week about a lot of states are trying to deregulate us professionals. There's all sorts of, like, even in my state, there were just huge changes made. And I was going to try to talk about that today, but there's no way I'm going to have time to talk about that today. So I'm going to talk about that next week. But the other thing is, products are harder to position in salons because every stylist can make their own decision on what they sell. Okay, so the education really has left a lot of those types of situations. And, you know, typically stylists today only come into their space when they have an appointment, and they really could care less about education as a whole. Now, I'm not going to say that that's really everybody, but a lot of them, it's hard to find education. You really do have to invest in that, and a lot of them are just like, I don't have the money to either do that, or, you know, I've been around long enough where I know what I'm doing, or whatever the circumstance is. That's really a lot of times what I see. Now, the other thing that a lot of people are doing, or a lot of salon owners are doing, is they're combining these two situations under one roof. And I can actually speak for myself, where I really had to do this because I had a chair rental situation in my salon, but unfortunately what I charged for rent was not enough to even cover the bills that I had coming in, as far as all those bills I talked about earlier with electric and lease and, you know, water and phone and advertising and, you know, this and that, you know, supplies, whatever it was. So we had to hire employees to fill in the gaps. And the other thing that was happening was the chair renters, they didn't want to work certain hours. So there were certain hours that my salon had to be open to accommodate people. Or, if there was like a wedding party coming in and, none of the independents wanted to work Saturdays, it was like, well, I need enough, staff to cover this. And, so that's kind of a lot of situations. And I talk to a lot of salon owners that are doing the same thing. The thing with that is it's really, really hard to have that team concept because you usually have the independents where they're like, well, I shouldn't have to do this and I shouldn't have to chip in and do anything because I just like want to pay my rent and come and go. And then you've got the employees that are like, I'm tired of, cleaning up after all of the renters or the independents, because they just don't care as much. They just like come and go. You can't really mandate them to come to any meetings. And of course there's always, every situation's different. But a lot of them are just like, well, why should I have to come? You're not paying me to do that. So I see a lot of that happening as well. And then of course there's always, fighting over appointments or, whatever it is. So that can happen a lot as well. Okay. With the rise of independence, so like I said, if you think back years ago, there really weren't a lot of independent chair rental or booth rental type situations, okay? But with the rise of that, we've seen companies like Sola Salon Studios, and that's just one, flourish, okay? So this is a company that they have buildings where it's all separate suites. So in a chair rental, you're basically just renting your chair under the roof of like one salon. In this type of a situation, they have suites. So you have like your own little space and you've got your own shampoo bowl and you can lock up your room. It's basically a room when you leave. So this company is really growing like crazy. So they actually have just began their global expansion as well. So depending on where you live, there might not be any yet, but there will be. Their first location in Toronto actually opened in October of last year, and they have said that they're really going to move rapidly forward in that expansion. So they're only 13 years old, but 5 years ago, they only had 70 locations, but today they have close to 400 open locations nationwide. So, and they continue to open 55 to 60 locations a year, and they're approaching 10,000 stylists that rent their suites. So as a salon owner, if you have employees working for you and you're training them and there's going to be even more options for them to, do this booth rental type situation. So a lot of salons that I know, they're just struggling with that because they're like, what? It's so hard to find more stylists that are willing to work in this type of situation as an employee. And, don't get me wrong, some larger salons, they have, their only employee and that's what they thrive on. But the turnover in this industry, unfortunately, is just that way. Okay, so this is a trend that you need to be aware of, especially if you are an owner in the industry, because let's face it, it's gonna be harder and harder to find stylists to fill those positions, unfortunately. Okay, so one way that I feel, so it's like I always tell you like all the doom and gloom and it's like, this sounds like it's horrible for the industry, okay, but there's a way to evolve with it, and that's my whole point of the series, is just to help you guys like think outside of the box and be like, okay, how can we evolve with this? How can we move with the trend? Because it's not going anywhere. I talked about that with diversion of products. That's on a rise. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to go the other way. And I talked about the way that distribution has changed as far as manufacturers getting their products into the hands of the consumer. They don't need the salons anymore. They can bypass two people or two different, distribution channels and go right to the consumer and make more money. So you can't blame them, right? That's what they're going to do. Okay, so and now with the rise of independence. So one of the things that I do is we have a system where we actually teach salons and independents and employees. We have a system where they can all work together and really stay profitable. Because if you think about it, if you lock arms with other people and totally get out all the competition, because with the way that we do this, there's absolutely no competition, and they're just able to be more successful all together, rather than everybody trying to fight for, that appointment and that sale and that new client and whatever it is, because at the end of the day, they're usually in competition with each other. So with the system that we teach, there's no competition whatsoever. In fact, there's actually no way that you can lose with this type of system that we have. And that's why I'm so excited about it, because it really is going to change the industry. I feel it is the answer. I was very instrumental in, creating the curriculum for it and the whole system. It's from what I did. We have other salons that around the country that are working with the same type of situation. It's working for them. So we've tested it for years, and now we finally have an entire curriculum and system and the support and education and whatever it is you need. It's out there. Okay. So, and it's really refreshing to work in that type of environment. Okay. Regardless, like I said, if you're a salon owner, a booth rental, a chair renter, employee, it doesn't matter. You can all lock arms and work together, okay? And the whole goal is everybody earning more revenue or bringing in more money, so they don't have to work as much. Because as stylists, because I know a lot of you on here are professionals in the industry, you guys are like the hardest working people that I know. And it's physical work. People don't realize how physical it is being behind the chair. Most of us are working 10, 12, 13 hours a day, not taking care of our bodies, not getting, not eating, not drinking, not taking care of ourselves. And unfortunately, most of them do not have any retirement at all. They don't have a lot of money left over at the end of the day to put in retirement funds. And a lot of them are just like, if something, I want you to ask yourself, if something would happen to you where maybe you hurt your wrist or you just couldn't work physically behind the chair or in front of the chair for you makeup artists, would that money that you make stop coming in? Or would you still have money coming in? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have money coming in and you still got to pay your bills, what are you going to do? Okay? Now, that's a huge one. And I know a lot of people, they're like in their 30s, they're like, well, I don't really have to worry about retirement. I'm just going to work until whenever. But we really get in that routine where we go to and from the salon and we're behind the chair and we take care of, our clients, and, we're doing what we have to get by. We're working all these hours. At the end of the day, it's not as lucrative as we would like unless we work more hours. You have to be physically there. If you take a vacation, you have to work even more when you get back to get all those clients in and to make up those hours that you missed, or to make up the revenue you missed just to pay for the vacation and your bills. Believe me, I've been there. I know that. So that's why this program is so crucial. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited. We're going to actually have a training coming up in Houston in April. So if you want more information on that, we're actually going to travel all over the United States every few months. And we're going to have a 4-day curriculum where we go over all of this. It's an amazing, well, not just because I helped with it, but there was a lot of brains involved in it. It wasn't just me. There was a lot of us that are very experienced that worked on this for quite some time. And yeah, I think, Martha, you're going to be there too. I can't wait to see you. It'll be awesome. It'll be so much fun. And gosh, I'm trying to think I don't think I've really been to Houston. I've been to other cities in Texas, but not Houston. So if you're interested in just knowing more about what I can potentially do for you if you are a professional in the industry, please contact me, because what I can do is I can do a whole consultation. I can even do this over the phone, and then it's a free consultation. Ask you some questions about what you have going on, and then what we do is we customize a program for your situation, because at the end of the day, a lot of people have different situations when it comes to how many clients they have, or what services they do, or what they have going on, what their situation is. And then I basically draw up a proposal of things that we could start implementing within your business that could potentially bring in a lot more revenue. Okay, so it's not always about products. It's not always about more hours or whatever it is. We have all different things that we can implement, and there's probably about 13 different things that we can implement in the average salon. So contact me. You can message me through Facebook. You can email me at lee.rader@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to talk with you over the phone or via video chat. So next week, you guys, are you ready for next week? And don't mind my little grays. I need to color my roots. I'm waiting because next week I'm leaving for Miami, so I'm kind of waiting to cover those roots up a little bit. Okay, so back on track. So next week I'm going to talk about how local salons, or your average, salon that's owned by a salon owner, how they can't compete with Dry Bar, Glam Squad, those type situations out there, because they're growing at a rapid rate as well. Wait till you hear the numbers on that. And the deregulation of our industry. So, because they actually have a lot to do with each other. So I thought that would be great to put those together. And it's really like how these salons are going to stay afloat with the competition of these types of businesses. So let me know if you have any questions. Be sure to share this video with anyone that you think it would help. And I will see you all next Monday. Thank you for joining me. Bye.